Hello and welcome to the Gospel-Centered Education Podcast. My name is Kelly Allen and this is our host, Tom Argersinger.
And this week we're going to be discussing 6 more common mistakes that modern parents make. Please join us.
You are listening to the Gospel-Centered Education Podcast, brought to you by Community Christian School in Tallahassee, Florida.
Hello, so glad you could join us. Today we're going to be talking about 6 more common mistakes that modern parents make. So we got a lot of questions today. Let's jump in.
Yes, so we're going into the myths that people just kind of believe and then questions that follow that.
That's exactly right, yep.
So the first one that we're going to talk about today is the whole concept of do as I say and not as I do.
Do you think that's still a common thing? I wonder if that was really common for a while.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking was I think it used to be common because people just accepted that. Just that's what we tell kids.
That's what you do,
But
yep.
now I think it's more of an underlying thing that you don't acknowledge. You don't really realize that you're promoting that.
Okay. Okay, so you don't even necessarily are not even aware.
Yeah, you're not aware of it, but
Okay.
you're expecting the kids to do as you say and not what you're doing, and you're not paying attention.
I wonder if some of that was, that kids were not subhuman or anything, but they were little people. They weren't adults.
Right.
And now that sense of developmental change is less evident or less accepted, maybe? Maybe that's what you're saying?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so here's the question that goes along with it.
Okay, yeah.
So how important is consistency in raising and educating kids?
Okay, so I'm going to turn this back to you as a parent.
Okay.
Because you are a parenting expert.
Yeah, right.
By the very...
This is going to be bad, everybody.
By the very nature of the fact that you have kids. So what do you think about that? Do you think, how important do you think consistency is from your standpoint?
I've learned that consistency is very important, and honestly, like in discipline, my husband is very great at that.
Okay.
And he's very consistent. And I am very wishy-washy. And we've had to learn that in our marriage, and I've had to step up.
Okay.
In disciplining our kids because, one minute I'll say something, the next minute I'll let them do what I just told them not to do. And I have seen that is not good.
Yeah.
So consistency is important.
I think so. I think it's really important.
Yes.
So it is a myth that do as I say, what I do. It's not a good thing.
Right.
But what's funny is there's also a flip side to it, which is, and this happens I think with more dads.
Yeah.
Who kind of like raise the ante of the consequence.
Right.
If you do that again, I'm going to rip all your doll's arms off, or whatever. It's
Yes.
like, I'm going to dismember your doll.
Yeah.
Or stuff that they're probably never going to do.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to take all your toys away for a week.
Yeah.
That's actually worse in a way, because it's like, you're not going to do that. It's
Right.
kind of the same root though, right?
Yeah.
Because you're basically saying, don't listen to what I'm really saying. And I've talked to some dads that do that kind of thing.
See, I'm that in the relationship.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not always dads. Okay,
Right,
fair
right.
point. So So why do you think that happens? Do you think it's like just personality driven, or are you
In our relationship, it's personality driven for sure. Yeah.
So he's the guy that toes the line.
Yes.
Okay. And you're the person who's just like, hey.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, whatever.
We're having fun today, so.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And
I'm not saying that's good.
Well, and I'm not saying it's always bad either. I mean,
Yeah.
right? And I think this question gets back to one of the things about parenting and teaching, because there's a lot of similarities. That there's not a one size fits all. So you do want to talk about principles, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we really shouldn't say do as I say, not as I do, because modeling is extremely important.
Yes.
As one person has said, you're teaching all the time as a parent or as a teacher, and especially when you're not paying attention to what you're teaching. You're teaching even more in that moment. So modeling is incredibly important. But also, there's a time that, because people aren't perfect, right? And that's an important thing. When we talk about mistakes that parents make or teachers make, we've all done it. So it's not like we're better than they are necessarily or anything like that. But if it becomes a habitual thing and it's a pattern in the relationship, I think that's tough. And it kind of gets connected. Then that drives kids to go to mom Like, your kids may go to you more than they might go to your husband.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because they know the answer they might get.
Exactly.
Right. And then the husband finds out later and goes, what?
Yeah, and I threaten to bring Dad in it if they start trying to walk all over me.
Yeah, see, of course, my parents were obviously, they were born in the teens, 1917 and 1913. And they were super old school. So all my mom literally had to say was, just wait till your dad gets home. Totally effective. And what's funny is my dad never laid a hand on me, ever.
Right.
But it was the threat.
That's,
Because he was a threatening kind of guy. He wasn't violent, but you really paid attention. So anyway, that's another whole story.
Yeah.
I'm not in psychologist chair, so we'll move on from that.
Well, I was looking this up on parentq.org, and it says whether we admit it or not, our lives are on display 24/7.
Yeah.
Kids are watching.
Yeah, they're watching. And I think back to a lot of our discussions around anxiety, as a parent, that for some parents, that's absolutely frightening. That this kid is literally watching me 24/7, everything I do. And then it's like, well, yes, but you don't have to be perfect.
Right.
That's an important point. You don't have to be perfect. And, grace covers a multitude of wrongdoing, And so I think a lot of this is about the default attitude of your heart. Are you trying to do it right most of the time? Nobody's going to do it perfectly. So for all of our listeners who are kind of anxious people, and they're just like, I hate you people because you're telling me of all the things I'm doing wrong and now I feel horrible. Well, first of all, we're not trying to do that. But second of all, if you do receive it that way, that no one is perfect. And that's why we all need Jesus at the end of the day. And that's just not just a cliche. Parents, above all, need to bring themselves before the Lord to get help with this. Because the first step is just understanding that thing you just said. It's a 24/7 teaching.
Yes.
Then you process your own emotions about it. And then you turn around and go, well, I might need to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
And think about the messages that our actions are sending.
Yeah. And don't threaten things that you can't follow through on.
Exactly.
Teachers do that too, by the way.
Yeah.
If you do that one more time, I'm going to write an email to your mom and tell them blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the kid does it again. They're like, and if you do that again, here we go. Same thing.
Yeah. Kids sense that. And some kids will walk that boundary.
The best kids in the world.
Yeah.
If you give them an inch, they will take a yard or a mile or
Yes.
whatever. I mean, it's just because it's human nature, right? And they can spot inconsistencies easily.
Yeah.
It's very true. So,
yeah.
all right.
So we brought up dads.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So there's another myth that talks about how dads are optional.
Yeah.
They're not needed,
Right.
And the question is, how important is a good dad?
This is something that probably should go without saying, but I'm glad we're going to bring it up because it is a thing still. And there's especially a certain demographic of people who are talking about this a lot on the internet, social media and various things, that dads are kind of superfluous.
Right.
I just completely disagree with that for so many levels. Of course, I am biased because I am a dad.
Yeah.
But you can speak. I want you to speak into it too, but from a mom's perspective. But I think at the end of the day, the Bible makes it really clear. Dads are important, and they have certain roles that they need to fulfill in the home. And so that's a good enough reason by itself. But even sociologically and psychologically, there's so much data that supports the idea if you have a dad who is strong in the right way and not in a toxic kind of way,
exactly,
but in a good way, a biblical, godly way, and especially for girls, I think, and I've seen a lot of stats around that. I think you have some stats there about those things.
Well, I do, and I looked it up on Institute for Research on Poverty, actually.
Interesting, okay.
And and they say that the consensus is growing in research, policy, and practice that involved fathers matter. It says in numerous studies, positive father involvement is associated with children's higher academic achievement, greater school readiness, stronger math and verbal skills, greater emotional security, which goes to what you were saying about, girls. They need emotional security. Girls are emotional, and when dads are involved, they feel more secure.
100%.
They have higher self-esteem,
Right.
fewer behavioral problems, and a greater social competence. It says, and greater social competence than found among children who do not have caring, involved fathers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the stats are pretty clear. They
Dads
really
are important.
Now, I'm hasten to say, because there are a lot of single moms, some of whom may be watching, listening to this podcast. And if you're in a situation where you're stuck in that situation, and whether by choice or not, but the point is you're in that situation, it doesn't mean that moms can't do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And they can do, if they have to, you know, moms are amazing people. And if you have to, then you do what you got to do. And but when I worked in the city, we just knew a lot of folks who were single parents. And, some of those moms were like, there's no such thing as a superwoman, but some of these people were pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be working 10-hour days, and then they're raising their kids, and they're instilling character, and they're doing a great job.
Yep.
But they're exhausted all the time, and because there's no tag teaming.
Right.
I think God set the marriage up to be male-female as a default, at least, for a reason.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just got to like tag out.
Yeah.
And go, you know, either wait till your dad gets home, or wait till your mom gets home, or I'm just out, and I need you to take over, kind of thing. You know. So yeah, I think dads are super important. I think dads also, in some way that's hard for me to describe in words, set the tone in the home. Because I don't want to get into necessarily a long discussion today about, you know, male and female roles. I would say that I think there are roles that are very similar that people share in a marriage and parenting. I think there are some that are probably unique to both, unique to one as to the other, as opposed to the other. But I don't want to get into, because that's a huge subject, right? But I do think that dads fundamentally carry a responsibility. I guess that's really why I would summarize it, Kelly. For me as a dad with our 4 kids, I feel like at the end of the day, I'm going to stand before the Lord and give an account for how I did this, how I did that. And that's also scary. It's sobering. It should be sobering. It may be not scary, but it should be sobering as a dad. And it reminds me, I think it was in season 1, we did a podcast and we talked about how the fact that the average dad in America spends, I think, 10 minutes or something a week actually talking with their kids.
Right.
About anything substitute besides what do you want for dinner as we go through the drive-through, that kind of thing. That's not great.
Yep.
That's not ideal. I think it's important for dads to sit down and have conversations about substantive things, which means, connecting to other podcasts, you actually have to put your phone down.
Yeah. And I think for some men that comes natural, that you would know the importance of your role and sit down and have those conversations. But I say, and from what I've seen, and Dustin and I have worked through this, we've been married for 20 years, I think I could say that, is sometimes men don't realize, you know, their importance, and like the mom will just step up and step in to how they feel like that should be run. I think a lot of times moms are controlling. You know? For
the record, I did not say that out loud.
I know. I can say that. I'm a mom. And I think moms are controlling and maybe kind of weed dad out a little bit and think, I got this, and dad doesn't see his place.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a brilliant insight.
Right. Thanks.
I do. I think it's a brilliant insight because it's like one of those things that's an elephant in the room that nobody wants to bring up. Like, when's the last time you heard a pastor from a pulpit say that?
Right. Yeah.
Or have his wife say it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't happen, right?
Right.
But there is some sense in which if a dad doesn't step into that role in a good, positive way, then what's the mom going to do? I mean, what's the wife going to do? They're going to step into the role. And then that can kind of get a feedback loop of its own, you know, and then pretty soon the guy's like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, maybe,
so it gets
you know,
complicated.
Moms could, you know, step back and allow the dad to have the opportunities to come back into those roles.
And just as a quick side note, you know, I think allowing that dad to fail
Exactly.
a little bit.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, yeah, give the space, let them have a chance to do it right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if/when he messes it up,
Yeah.
this part, they're learning, right? Because like with my dad, when he passed away when I was 15, I had absolutely no model. I had no model of what a dad was supposed to do. And so it was like this ongoing learning experience for me. It's like all I knew from my dad was, you just swear a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
literally, that was all I really knew.
That's not good.
And that's probably not great,
Yeah.
you know, especially after I became a Christian some years later. So I'm like, but okay, I don't do this, you know, but what do you do? And like you said, I think some dads, their personalities lend themselves to that.
Right.
And some don't.
And I think moms like me can be nitpicky and say, you know, I mean, even when the baby's first born, you can say, you're not changing the diaper right. Like, you know, like,
It happens, I think,
you
right?
know?
Yeah. So
there's so many things. Yeah.
If we don't get comments about this part of the dialogue,
I
we'll
know.
probably never get comments about anything. Because it's important to talk about, right?
Yes.
Because I think wives have a tremendously important role to set up their husbands for success.
Right.
In the area of being a dad. And I think it takes two, just like everything. Just like being a mom, I think takes partially having a good dad
for sure.
alongside. So
For sure. So dads are important.
dads are super important. Yeah.
Yes.
What else we got question-wise?
Okay. So
Or myth-wise?
The myth is faith is great as long as it doesn't take over my life completely. So the question that goes along with that is, what is the role of faith in modern life?
Yeah. This is a tough one for me because some of these stand out as being even a deeper concern, you know. And this one, I think, in my experience over all these years and working with faith-based enterprises and schools and churches and stuff, this is a really common one, the compartmentalization of faith.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the myth is, like as you just said, just to repeat it, faith is great as long as it doesn't take over every area of life. That is a super common thing. So let's flip it on its head. Why would it be important for it to take over every area of your life? Because even the way the statement's formed is negative. It's pejorative.
Yeah.
It's going to take over every area of your life, right? So what do you think? What's another way? What are we trying to really get at with that question? Do you reckon? How we apply it to every area of life, maybe?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of times there is in this area as well, a lot of unawareness that, I'm not applying my faith to all areas of life. And there's unawareness of compartmentalization of your faith.
Yeah.
Are you someone different on Sunday morning than you are the rest of the week?
Yeah. And that's especially true for people that work in ministry. It's true of everyone, but it's especially true if they see their mom or dad working in ministry.
Oh, yeah.
And then, they see them doing their thing, especially if they're up on stage or something, and then they see them at home, they're like, what the heck?
Yes, we had a stat the other week about pastors' kids.
Yes,
I don't know if we
exactly.
mentioned it, but it was about how they watched all that because they're watching you.
Just like we said.
Like we said, and they had stepped away from the faith.
Yeah.
They
got to see reality, right? It has to be real. It has to be authentic, which is the big word nowadays, but it's true. It has to be authentic. Otherwise, what are you really going to do?
Yeah.
I think a lot of this idea of why don't I apply faith to every area of my life, I think one of the reasons for that is idolatry.
Ooh, that's good.
I think we've got stuff in our lives that we've all allowed to get that toehold, stronghold, foothold, whatever, in our lives that really is an idol for us, which could include, frankly, our kids. It could include a lot of different things. It could be entertainment. It could be sports. It could be the arts. It could be a lot of things. But the point there is, I think we get stuck in that loop of idolatry. And if somebody says, hey, you should apply the Bible, your faith, to every area of your life. Wait, what if God says, hey, I think you're overdone on that, you're overblown on that, you're overdoing that. It's becoming an idol. That's awkward.
It is awkward. Yeah, and it's
hard.
It's a shift of mentality.
Yeah.
Worldview.
Yeah, it's funny. So many of the things that we talk about here as far as what we believe gospel-centered education is about and therefore gospel-centered parenting is about is, I realized, I thought about this the other day, a lot of things we talk about, it's hard. It is. That's why people don't do it more. It's, especially today, it's really difficult. And that gets back to the grace aspect. What's the bent of your heart? Is the bent of your heart and mind to do the biblical, the godly, the right thing? And if it is, you're never going to do it 100%. Never. No one does. But that's the default for you. That's the bent. And I think if we can get to that place as parents and as teachers and as administrators, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think it comes back to trusting the Lord and knowing that His way is best.
Yes. Yes,
That's
exactly.
why we would do it.
Even though I might love this thing over here that's really taking too much of center stage in my life right now. Yeah, I love this. Like you can tell that from looking at my checkbook and my calendar and everything else. I love this so much. It could be more than I love God. And that gets really, really not ideal.
Yeah.
It ends up messing things up in the end.
Yes. And speaking of idols,
No, okay.
This next one I was really called out. This next one is, okay, my life should revolve around my kids while they are in the home.
Oh, boy. Man, we sure know how to create controversy. I mean, really? Come on.
And the question is, what place should children occupy in modern Christian homes?
Okay.
So,
you want to start?
yes.
Okay, you start.
So if you look at my Instagram and my Facebook, and all my friends who listen to this podcast will know, my kids are my trophies.
Okay, all right.
Okay, they are on full display, all of their accomplishments and everything. And so what I looked up was on focusonthefamily.com.
Okay.
And it says, does performance drive your parenting? And it says, stop being a trophy parent. And what the person writing it says is, I might be what you call a trophy parent daily. I catch myself showing off my kids to the world, from helping them too much with homework. And I'm honestly very good with that. They need to do their own homework.
Okay, you're on your own for the homework.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, good.
But as far as bragging about them on Facebook, I want my family and friends, it says, I want my family and friends to see only the best in my children. My kids are perfectly placed on a shelf for the world to see.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And so I think if you look at my Facebook, you would think, like, my life is revolved around these kids.
Yeah.
You know? And so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Oh, golly. I mean, it's a hard line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like, what are you going to do? Say, no,
Yeah.
you should never put your kids on Facebook or Instagram with something they did right.
Yeah.
It's like, just put the things they do wrong.
Right.
It's not that simple, right? None of these things are simple. It really is just more about, again, examining your own heart in it.
Right.
It's like, what are you really doing that for? That's where I would go with it.
I don't know, Tom.
Well, I don't know either. I mean, I'm not you, but it is a good question, though, right? And I think the other thing, going back to a question we talked about a minute ago, and that is, everything we do teaches something. So if we're constantly, let's take a slightly different example. Like, every time our kid breathes heavy, we're taking a selfie with the kid. And especially when they're little, right? Oh, it's so cute. Oh, look, they're crying. Say a selfie or whatever it is. And, you know, it seems so innocuous, right? But what are you teaching that kid? Indirectly, you're kind of, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but you're kind of teaching them they're the center of the world. And so every time they do something, it's Instagram worthy.
Yeah.
And it kind of connects to what you're saying, in a way, you know, and as we watch not only our own grandkids, but just young kids in general today, and you look at Instagram and Facebook and other platforms, you know, you're like, it's great until it's not. And so it's hard when you have like a 2-year-old, it's really hard to look at them and go, I'm really concerned about what you're going to be like when you're 16 or 12. Or 8, because you're just like, he's just so cute. And it's like, look, he's like throwing a tantrum in the middle of the floor. Awesome. I mean, it's like, it's okay, is it really awesome? But I always thought I guess it's because I was always in secondary education, right? So I saw them when they were older.
Yeah.
And when they were difficult, I would think, I wonder what you were like when you were 2.
It's true.
Or
they come
3 or
back.
4.
That 2-year-old comes back. I'm learning that.
Right? It kind of does. So again, it's not really about guilt. It's really about, I think, the intent of the heart and being open enough with yourself to examine your motives. Like, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing a picture of the kids doing well at a show or doing well at a sporting event or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But if that's all you ever post, well, you may want to, reconsider. It's kind of, we have a joke in our family about friends of ours that do Christmas cards when people did Christmas cards. And they would some people would send around these Christmas cards that were like a litany of all the amazing accomplishments of all their kids.
Right.
For the year.
Yes.
And we would be like, well, our kids they cleaned up the plates from dinner. It's like, and these other people, like, they've started a business
they cleaned their room.
Poor kids in Africa. It's like awesome. I mean, it's all good, right? But it's just like, it just seems like it starts making it a competition.
Yeah, that's true. There is different things.
Do you think for you, is that kind of what's driving it? Or do you not even think about, like, I want my kids to be better?
Honestly, I'm just so proud of them,
Which is not bad.
I could see that would be a drive for some people. Mm-hmm. But the question was, what place should children occupy in the modern Christian
Well, I'm going to take the easy route and say the biblical place.
Yeah, so what's that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, except I've worked around kids for my whole life and parents and things. But what I would suggest, at least, is that they should be, the children should have an honored place in the home because they're a gift from the Lord. That's a biblical concept. They are a gift from the Lord. So in that sense, they should be honored as a gift. It does not mean that a 5-year-old is an adult.
Right.
So what I come back to a lot on these kind of questions is the developmental aspect of child rearing and education. A 7-year-old is not an adult. A 14-year-old is not an adult, no matter how they might appear.
Right.
And frankly, a lot of times 16, 17-year-olds are not adults either.
Right.
And sometimes even 20-year-olds, right? Because adulting is not about chronological age. So I think that, to me, is a really, really, really important aspect to the question. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. And I could see how my kids would feel like the world would revolve around them if they were on social media. And a funny story, my daughter just turned 16, so I've allowed her to have social media now just to start to try to use it. And she's seeing all the times I post her, and she doesn't like the pictures that I'm posting.
I was going to say, I wonder if that's part of it too. It's like I've heard this, I think I read this somewhere, I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was in the Jonathan Haidt book. But anyway, that actually, when parents do that, it actually increases the anxiety in kids.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they have to live up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anytime you take a picture, like they don't know if I'm going to be posting that. Right,
yeah. And because, I'm obviously old, but when I think back to being a kid, it would have been the worst thing in the world for me. I remember this I know myself as a kid, that if my mom or dad went around constantly taking pictures of me, I'd be like, what are you going to do with those pictures? I mean, I know it was a different era, and I get it. It was different, but... So yeah, it cycles back to what we've said like a million times, and that is wisdom. It takes a ton of wisdom to be a good parent, especially today. And it takes a really intimate walk with Jesus to get that wisdom, because you're never going to bat 1,000. You're barely going to bat 700. I mean, it's like, you're going to do the best you can, or you should be doing the best you can, and trusting the Lord, and then working with your partner, your spouse, hopefully when you have one to do that with, to be able, and then if you don't, then your community, So yeah, it's a good question, really good question. Yeah.
So along the same lines, a lot of parents feel, and this is another myth, that I must make my child 100% safe.
Yeah, I remember we had a discussion about this back, and then we discussed the Jonathan Haidt book, Next Generation. You remember that discussion?
Oh yeah, that changed my parenting.
Yeah, can you, for those who may not have seen it, can you recount just what that was about?
Yeah, he talks about.
You're talking about neighborhoods, right? You're talking about in your neighborhood, if your neighborhood is safe.
Yeah. So I didn't let my kids. We have friends in the neighborhood. I didn't let my kids, go to their friend's house without me walking them there. Or and so in those ways, I realized, I'm being overprotective in this area. They are perfectly capable of walking to their friend's house.
Mm-hmm. And how old were they when that was happening? How old were they?
Like 9.
Okay.
9 years old,
Yeah. And there again, wisdom is necessary.
Yeah.
I remember asking you, do you have a safe neighborhood? And I remember you saying yes.
It's very safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, all neighborhoods aren't 100% safe, but
do you remember what I asked you after that? You said, I said, do you live in a safe neighborhood? You said, yes, it's very safe. And then I said, well, what are the odds that something bad's going to happen if they walk to your neighbor's house? Do you remember what you said?
No.
It was a great response, though.
Okay.
Because it spoke for like 1 million people. Because it was like, you said, well, it's not 0.
That's true. But I'm not there anymore mentally.
Are you? Oh, you've moved on.
I've moved on.
Okay, good.
And that's why I like this myth, I must keep my child 100% safe. The question that goes with that is, what is my biblical role as a parent?
Yeah. So I'll turn it back to you. So is keeping your child safe part of the biblical role of a parent?
You just can't, though. You can't.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Not 100%.
You can't.
Right. And so we have to allow kids, and so it's tricky, right? So if you live in the Bronx, where we did, or whatever, should you let your kids walk down to the corner? Well, frankly, a lot of people in the Bronx do. The kids are a lot more streetwise in general than they might be in a suburban situation. But the general answer is probably not, right? Especially certain times of day. So like what we learned in the city by watching parents in the city, including some of our kids that have or live there, is discernment. It's like, what time is it?
Right.
What neighborhood is it?
Yeah.
And then they make decisions accordingly. I think I've told you, or talked about on the podcast, of having kids at our school in Manhattan, ride the subway for an hour and a half, and they're like 7 by themselves. Now, is that a good idea? That's a tricky one.
I wouldn't do that.
Right. But the point is, again, there was a discernment factor, because these were good parents. I knew the people, and they were good parents. They just determined that it was going to be okay. I think the problem comes wherever you come down on things like a subway ride in New York City when you're 7, wherever you come down on that question, the general idea, I think, is if you cannot keep your kid 100% safe, then don't kill yourself trying. And at some point, you've got to let them fail a little bit.
Yeah.
But not make huge mistakes, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen parents that read this book and they let their kids, like, while watching them, go inside and order for themselves at a fast food restaurant.
Like at what age? Like
these were, since the parents could watch them, I would say it's probably like an 8-year-old that did it or something like that. Yeah. But the 8-year-old came back beaming and just, I did it by myself.
That's awesome.
I ordered by myself. And some kids, they'll be 14, 15 years old, still asking their parents to order for them because their parents just always have.
Always have.
Yes.
Yeah. And it causes anxiety in them because they've never been able to practice it, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
No, that is a great point. Yeah. So again, I think Jonathan Haidt calls it safetyism.
Yeah.
Obsession with the safety to an unhealthy degree.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why this is so true of a lot of things we're talking about. We need to be open to what people are saying. In other words, if you were the kind of parent, you're not, but if you were the kind of parent that goes, well, I don't care what anybody says. I just think this is the right thing.
Right.
Well, okay, but you could be wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you might want to get some other input to that.
Yeah, be open-minded in your
or at least
approach.
try to be, because if you really want the best thing for your kid, then you will be more open-minded, and you'll listen to people that might know something.
Yeah, because none of us know everything.
None of us know it all, right? We were that way with our kids. And we had people speaking in our lives all the time. So I think that's wisdom, I think.
Yeah, I've loved this podcast because I've learned so much about parenting.
I still learn stuff all the time, because now with adult kids, it's different.
Yeah.
You're still parenting, but it's in a way, it's kind of weird. It's hard to explain, but they're more friends now in a way. And we just had some kids visit, and we had conversations till all hours of the morning, and it was just a wonderful thing.
That's great.
But to your earlier point, I'm kind of bent that way, obviously, and so they grew up doing that. Not all dads are going to do that, and that's okay. But it should be more than 10 minutes a week.
Yeah.
It really should. So do we have any other questions? Or we?
Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit and talk
good.
about money.
Oh, great. I don't know anything about money. I work for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So let's just make that clear right off the bat. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the myth is money is the final filter for decision making.
Yeah, this is a good one to end on. I think this is our last one today.
Yeah.
This is a good one to end on because we'll go ahead and share the question that comes out of that.
The question is, what is the central question in decision making as a follower of Jesus?
Right.
And is it money?
Yeah, is it money? This is again nuanced, right? So I'm going to try to be careful how I talk about this. This is one I've seen increase exponentially in the last 10, 15 years of my work in schools and with parents and things. Because when the economy is not doing well, it's like the old saying, it's the economy stupid. Everything ends up being about money when people don't have it. I am super aware of that. Again, all kidding aside, having worked in a nonprofit my whole life, I get it. By the way, you know how much I made my first year? This is going to date me terribly. You know how much I made my first year of teaching?
And how many years ago was this?
Oh my gosh, let's see. That was 1981.
Okay.
Many moons have crossed the sky. What do you guess? What do you think?
I don't know.
Oh, just
I
give
have
me
no
throw
clue.
a number.
I really have no clue. I was born in 1981.
You had to share that. You felt like you had to. Thanks. Okay, but what? So just I'm serious. Throw a number out. What do you think?
Like your first year?
My first year, 1981. I was in the public schools.
This is going to be a terrible guess.
It's okay.
$10,000.
That's a great guess. You know what it was? $11,000
Really?
a year. And then the best part of it was, in year 2, we got a $50 raise.
Oh my goodness! Wow!
So we had
wow!
and I'm like,
big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know if I should be insulted by that, because I mean, who thought that up?
Were you back then? That was like really small amount of $50.
Yeah, even
raise.
back then.
Okay.
I mean, it was still like nothing.
Okay.
So anyway, all that to say, I really get it, right? But I think as a believer, we have to be super careful, because we don't want to become, and I use this term guardedly, but I think it could apply if we're not careful. We don't want to become kind of a Marxist, which basically sees everything through an economic lens.
Yeah.
Everything in history, everything everywhere as an economic, and it ends up being everything is class struggle, philosophically. There's no doubt that in America today, particularly where the economy is and where it seems to be going, perhaps, et cetera, it's really hard. We're talking about our kids trying to buy a house and do all these things nowadays and pay for gas and cars. Oh my gosh, cars. And so it's super, so it's obvious that money is a factor. It has to be a factor. But the question is, like it says here, is it the central factor? Because what happens, what are we going to say to our kids? Like if this happens in your family, I don't know if it will, but what are you going to say if one of your kids comes to you when they're 18 and said, I want to go and do X. I want to this is a good one. I want to major in art history, and I want to become an artist on the side, and I want to use that in some way to glorify God, let's say, and I'm in the mission field, and I'm never going to make a lot of money. So I'm not going to put you on the spot, but you can answer if you want to.
Okay, so as a studio art major.
Bad example. Okay, you're biased, but that's
and
good.
my husband's a musician.
Oh, okay. So you're used to not having any money.
We're good.
All right. But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the determining factor for things like calling? Because that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I probably said it before, but Oswald Chambers was famous for using this whole blank check analogy and saying, we should as Christians, we should give God a blank check. And we should say, I want to do what you want me to do, no matter what. Kind of like the CCS mission statement, whenever you call, wherever it leads, and whatever it costs.
Right.
That's what I want to do. Well, the first thing most people that I talk to today, when I bring that up, they go, well, yeah, but they won't be able to do anything if they don't have any money. Well, nobody's arguing they don't need some money. The question is, though, do we trust that God will provide what they need when they show up and work and do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah.
I think that's the question, right? And then again, it gets back to our discussion about idolatry. Has money risen to such a central point, even beyond the obvious need for financial provision, which the Bible supports,
Right.
But if it becomes, because what's the root of all evil? The love of money.
The love of money.
Not just money, not money itself, but the love, which basically means the idolizing and centrality of money in your life and in decision making. So I think at the end of the day, the answer has to be money should not be the number one central factor for decision making especially about things, big things like calling.
Yeah.
Like whether you should go out to dinner tonight, well, that's different, right?
Right.
But we're talking about with your kids and calling and all those kinds of things.
And how you counsel them to move forward in
yes,
life.
good. Yeah, exactly right.
Shouldn't be money centered.
Right. Well, it should money again. Realizing money is a factor, but if God, what if God calls them to do something they will not be well paid for?
Right.
I tried to say to my kids when they would bring that up, because they would go, "Hey, Dad," because with kids, there's like today they want to be a whatever.
Yeah.
Today it's an engineer, and tomorrow it's a musician or whatever it is, and they would come up with something that makes very little money, or it's unlikely. Because I was a musician as well, and it's very hard to make a living in the arts.
Right.
It's really difficult to make a decent living in the arts, especially unless you're the top 5% or whatever.
Oh yeah.
2%. And I would say to them, it's like, okay, you can do that, but let's talk about what that really means. So this is the life of a musician, let's say. At one point when my kids want to be a musician, this is kind of the life of a professional musician. Here you go. There's a lot of travel involved. It's not easy to have a family. It's possible, but it's not easy. And it can be feast or famine. You got to deal with a lot of different kinds of people, like managers, and they're going to take all this kind of stuff. And so, but that way they're at least informed. Now, if one of our kids had continued to say, and I think one of our kids actually, they were excellent. They are an excellent singer, and we talked about them becoming a professional in this, and they examined it very thoroughly, and they looked at this is when they were in high school, and they said, and early college, and they said, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to sacrifice all those other things, in order to do this one thing. Okay, but at least they knew.
See, that's biblical too when you're teaching them to count the costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. It's not, to me, it's not so much as saying that's a dumb idea.
Right.
There's no way you ever make a living doing art history or whatever it is. It's better to let them kind of figure out what it is, because you also don't necessarily want your kid to have a terrible life. Like, oh, you get to be in a whatever, I don't want to mention an individual field, but a well-paying field. Oh, you get to do that, but you hate it every day of your life. Is that what you really want for your kids? And there's a balance, right? And all that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Oh, good. Well, I tell you what, I won't drag you into this. I've hit a lot of sacred cows today.
Yeah.
So,
I helped you.
Hopefully, well, you did. Thank you for that. But maybe we'll get some comments. It'll be interesting to see what people say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go ahead and close here. And I think we're going to say what we usually say, which is, thanks so much for tuning in. And if you forget everything else that we've said, remember that Jesus is Lord, and it's important to live the kingdom of God.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Gospel Centered Education Podcast, brought to you by Community Christian School in Tallahassee, Florida. You can find us online at myccs.org.